Hello and welcome to Obscure Findings, where I give a second look to the overlooked. With the relatively new release of the new Superman movie, The Man of Steel, I can't think of any better way to start off this series than to look at America's favorite superhero's favorite super pet, Krypto the Superdog. In a nutshell, for those who are unfamiliar, Kyrpto was once the pet of Kal-El on Krypton, but in order to prepare his son's rocket escape from the planet's destruction, Jor-El experimented with some prototypes and had Kyrpto be a test pilot for one. However, Krypto's rocket faced problems and ventured off course, till he landed on Earth years later and appears to be as a sidekick to Superboy. And today I'll cover one of Krypto's toughest battles as he faces off the Dogs of Zod. The comic that I'm reading from is based from the Krypto the Superdog cartoon show that aired on Cartoon Network not too long ago. It was a kid-centered show with the base design of Hanna-Barbera, so it was cheesy and smolty from time to time, but overall a decent show with a premise you can't help but love. The superheroics of pets of superheroes. And guess what? It was placed in a lousy time slot and got cancelled after 2 seasons. Yeah, Cartoon Network's been doing that move for a long time now. But enough about the hate, let's get to the good stuff we all love. The comic starts off with Streaky the Super Cat, who is actually an Earth Cat with Kryptonian powers. Watch this show for more details, as he's telling his fan club various stories of his own heroics, one of them being the 3 naughty doggies. The real story starts out on Krypton, as a baby Kal-El plays with a puppy Kyrpto. Jor-El is confronted with a problem. A colleague of his is telling him that after exiling Zod and his generals into the Phantom Zone, they are left to take care of his 3 vicious dogs, Dom, Vila, and Trunk. But Jor-El has a quick solution for this problem. Blast the 3 off-planet, send him to another one in orbit of the dog star Sirius. Okay, first off, do Kryptonians solve all their problems with pocket dimensions and rocket ships when it comes to lives? Second, why did you build a rocket to exile a guy's dog, if not your own son, wife, and of course yourself, Jor-El?
I'm too busy developing makeup for dogs. That's where the money is.
When the rocket takes off, Zod's 3 naughty doggies, yes, that's what they're officially called in the comic, mess with the controls, get hit by an asteroid, then put into hypersleep, only to make a crash landing on Earth, where they wake up and discover that the sun gives them superpowers, and then they fly off to cause trouble at a local fair. All in one rushed page. At the fair, Streaky encounters the Dogs of Zod while scurrying around for free food. The 4 banter and fight a bit before Streaky realizes he's no match for the dogs and leaves to get help from Kyrpto, who's currently on vacation with his human family in Tahiti. Soon Dom, Villa, and Trunk show up and fight. Kevin, Superdog's human owner, equipped the Universal Translator earpiece that lets him understand animals and aliens. Again, watch the show. Convinces his family that the battle is a monsoon and they should seek shelter under a canoe, rather than their condo located right next to them. But that would be a dumb move, but then again, if you have seen The Man of Steel, buildings are not a safe place to be in these kinds of fights. The overall fight is pretty cool, with laser beams, sandstorm, fastball specials, volcanoes, water fights, and the heroes coming on top after taking Villa and Trunk, all rushed in one page. Again. Dom, however, managed to grab Kevin and gives an ultimatum to the Super Pets. Surrender control of the Earth to him, or he'll kill the boy. Kyrpto accepts the demands, but needs the proper ceremonial items for the transfer of power. He soon comes back with a case that has the crown for Dom to be officially declared Emperor of the world, but it then turns out to be kryptonite, weakening the 3 bad dogs, and using a lead-lined mat, that looks like a picnic blanket, to keep the dogs secure as well as keep them safe from the kryptonite, Kyrpto and Streaky take the Dogs of Zod back to their rocket ship, which has a do-it-yourself repair show with Jor-El, and soon they managed to send the heinous canine trio back into hypersleep and sent them back to the original course, and the story ends with the Streaky's fan club questioning the authenticity of the story, but then ask for more stories anyway. And even though they might not get the story, we do, and boy do we. Even though the cover of the issue focuses entirely on Zod's 3 naughty doggy stories, there's actually 2 in the issue itself. The other story involves Bat Hound and the Joker's 2 hyenas, Bud and Lou. Basically, under the orders of the Joker, Bud and Lou are trying to lure Batman away from Gotham City to Connecticut, while the Joker will be able to pull off a huge heist. But that plan gets entirely undermined by Kyrpto and Ace as they put up a ruse to pretend to be Batman. The overall story is rather fast-paced, confusing, and I fear if I even could explain any more, I might ruin the actual experience that you can get from reading it. The real shocker to this story is that it actually takes place in the DC animated universe. It has Jim Gordon from how he looked from the new Batman animated series, while Batman and Joker themselves look like they do in Justice League. Justice League actually had Bat-Hound and Superdog in it. Okay, now that we took a look at this gem, let's take another look to see what made it good and what tarnished it. Both the stories and the artwork do match up with how the cartoon show was back when it was airing on CN. The stories themselves seem like something from the Silver Age, which are always good when you're telling stories about Superman, even if it doesn't involve him directly and just his pets, though it does make me wonder where he was during the whole Zod's dog invasion thing. Separate artists were involved with the storylines, but both of them managed to capture the look and feel of the actual TV show within the panels of the pages. So kudos to them, especially to Min Koo, who managed to not only capture the style of Krypto, but also Justice League and Batman. The story with Bathound was short, but flowed rather nicely. However, Zod's Naughty Doggies, as cool and awesome as it was rushed in too many places. Had it been more paced out, it would have been a perfect story. Zod's Three Naughty Doggies, seriously, they couldn't come up with something like The Hounds of Zod or something, are clearly based on Zod and his cohorts from the Superman movies. Dom is Zod with the ego to match, the grunting, snarling Trunk is like the Brutus and animalistic Non, and Vila is like Ursa, cold and ruthless, and apparently share the same kind of makeup. She claims that it's fur, but I guess it's what that alien aspect the nostalgia critic was wondering about when he reviewed the Superman animated series. The second story was definitely inspired by the Silver Age, in which a villain's needlessly complex plan was always undermined by the hero's even more needlessly complex plan. And again, I still have to give credit to the artwork, as it does capture two different art styles from two different shows and blend them together pretty well, kind of like how Sonic Generations and Turtles Forever managed to capture different characters from different timelines and put them together so well in different worlds. Too bad we can't get the same results with Ben 10 Omniverse. Overall, this comic is definitely a keeper. It's still a kid's comic based off a cartoon show, and it may not appeal to anyone other than fans of that as well as Superman, but it's still definitely a fun read to have. It still heads over shoulders compared to what the DCNU is spewing out, especially if you've just seen Linkara's review of The Calling. And by the time I'm recording this, not only do we have to fear what Linkara has warned us about in his review, there's still more. I mean, Mr. Freeze and Nora's relationship from being a tragic loss has now become basically Torgo fondling the Master's unconscious wives. Poison Ivy is selling date rape drugs. And when it comes down to it, that's almost what most comics are about nowadays. Either rape, death, gore, or even making deals with the freaking devil! So, if it's either that, you can excuse me while I'm gonna stick reading to a book about Superman's dog fighting off dog versions of his master's arch nemesis. I'm Silver Zeo, and I just gave you the second look of The Overlooked.
Krypto, Superdog, Krypto. He's a super dog. He's a superhero. He came to Earth from outer space, and his name